Welcome to the Picture Perfect Quilt Along. Hi there, my name is Irene and this is the 𝗕𝗂𝗿𝗄 channel, and you are watching the first video of a new 𝗕𝗂𝗿𝗄 𝗣𝗲𝗄 quilt along. We are going to quilt the Picture Perfect quilt in this quilt along. On the website you can find all the information about the schedule. Hi there. About the schedule, about what is going to happen when. You can find the links to all the rulers we are going to use and the links to all the blog posts. So this quilt along is hosted on the 𝗣𝗲𝗄 blog in English, Dutch, German and French. So you can read along on the blog in any of those languages. And now we are going to start quilting. So I'm going to set this one aside. So hop over to your sewing machine and we will get started. So just before we get started, a little note on sewing machines and getting ready for quilting with rulers, because that's what we're going to do in this quilt along. If you want to quilt along and quilt your blocks without rulers, free motion quilting, straight line quilting, that's all fine. Please do. This quilt along is mainly to practice our quilting. So if you want to do that with anything other than quilting rulers, that's completely fine. But if you want to quilt with rulers, you can do so on a sit-down machine like I'm doing on the Q16. You can do it on a long arm or on a regular sewing machine. The most important thing is that you get a ruler foot. This is a ruler foot number 72, so this will work on your sit-down machine or long arm or regular 𝗣𝗲𝗄 sewing machine. I also use this on my 𝗣𝗲𝗄 770. And if you're working on any different brand of sewing machine, you can check your manual on what type of ruler foot you need. But the most important thing is that it's a thick foot so that it's high enough to glide along your rulers. And next to that, when you're working on a regular sewing machine, make sure your feed dogs are down. So feed dogs help move the fabric in a straight line through your sewing machine, and when you're quilting, free motion quilting or ruler work, you want to move your quilt in all directions. So for that you make sure to lower your feed dogs. So besides that, get some matching thread for the back of your quilt in your bobbin. I'm going to use a white thread in the top to really show off the quilting on those colored squares. Maybe put in a new needle, oil your machine, and then we're ready to go. The first block I'm going to quilt is the one in the center of the quilt, but you can do as you prefer. You can pick any of the 9 blocks. So let's measure the height of the block. That is 8.5 inch. I want to know this because I want to mark some horizontal lines. So this is 8.5 inch, so the half of the block will be 4.25. There we go. I'm using a hero marker to mark a line in here. Going to put my ruler here along the edge of the block and then put a marking in there. Yeah, that's it. I'm going to use that line as a starting point in this in quilting this block. So the first ruler we're going to use is a Lollipop ruler, and I like to use this one because it's the simplest of all, I think, to quilt. So I'm going to turn my quilt sideways. I quilt along this line. We are going to make a pattern that goes in the horizontal direction. And well, let me just show you what this looks like. Bringing up my thread. Few stitches on the spot, then bringing in the ruler. I am lining it up along the bottom line, and I'm making sure that that line I just marked is in the center of my ruler. So let's go. I am holding on to my ruler and also placing my fingers on the sides of it. So you don't want your ruler to move while you're quilting. Woohoo! There we go. The first stitches are made. Just going to zoom in a little bit so you might have a better view of what I'm doing. So the idea with quilting with rulers is that you keep your ruler foot connected to the ruler. So now I'm going to choose this side to quilt on. I'm going to keep my ruler in place on the quilt and have that ruler foot move along the side of the ruler all the way until it's at the top. Now I want to quilt also this other half. And I'm going back the same way I went up. Oops. There I moved my ruler. No problem. This will happen many times. So maybe you can see, I'm not sure if it's big enough, but now there are 2 lines. I just moved my ruler. That is no big deal. The reason we're doing this quilt along is to practice our quilting. And the more you do this, the better you will get at following those lines, at keeping your ruler in place. It is just practice to get better at it. But making it perfect? No, probably not. There you see again I have those 2 lines. I think going the first time following that line, I'm not completely with my ruler foot against my ruler. So this side goes really nice. That's perfect. And then when going back, I need to pay more focus on following this line. Yes, that's better. Let's see how we do now. Great. Now it went much better. See? So there I really followed it. And with this one, I have 2 lines. So really use this quilt along as an opportunity to practice. Practice all there is with ruler work. So keeping your ruler in place, getting that stitch length nice and even. After you've come all the way to the other side, we're going to travel a little bit along the seam. And you can use the markings on here. So I'm going to travel from one white line to the other. There we go. And when you get to that point, you can use this ruler with all its markings to line it up. So I'm going to line these markings up with the ones I've already quilted. There we go. And then we're just going to quilt back just the way we came. So about the stitch length, I am working on the Bernina Q16, a sit-down machine, which has the stitch regulation built in. That's really nice, and that means that it is making all the stitches the same length without me having to do anything for that. But when you're doing this on a regular sewing machine, you will need to get some practice in, because you need to control your pedal, your foot, which controls the speed of the needle, and combine that with the speed of your hands. So if you're moving your hands really fast, then your stitches will get big. Or if you're moving your needle up and down really fast, your stitches will get smaller. So there needs to be a balance in that. And also that it will come with practice. I think the main thing is allowing yourself the time and the space to practice. So this quilt is a really nice practice project. I think that is a nice practice project because it comes together quite quickly, all the blocks, and so it's not a quilt top that you've worked on for a year and now you have to quilt it. That really can feel daunting. Maybe you recognize that feeling when you need to quilt a quilt that you've worked on for such a long time that it's kind of scary to start quilting it. But this quilt top, I think it comes together quite quickly. So that makes it really nice practice project. It's okay if not all the squares are going to be as pretty as you hope. It just is a way to get some practice in. And you will end up with a really fun quilt in the end, of course. So with the position of your hands, it's nice to have your fingers positioned around your needle. So don't have them here when your needle is there. Try to have them around the needle so that you have enough control. And things that can also help with control is wearing gloves that have that, let me see if I have a pair of them nearby. Yes, I do. Normally I wear them, but now I kind of forgot. So these have kind of, it's not sticky, but it will give you more grip on the fabric. That is really handy to use. And also there is a spray or a tape that you can put on the bottom of your rulers to give the rulers more grip. That will prevent your rulers from sliding around when you don't want them to. And that's really helpful to keep everything in place. Whoops. That was a skipped stitch. That happens. There we go. Yeah, so this is what we're doing. This is the pattern we're creating. And let's see if I need to make another one. Yes, I think I will need to make a half pattern to the side. So I'm just going to move towards the corner. There we go, and replace my ruler. Let's see where it needs to. How do we do this? I need to go here first. As you can see, it's a little bit off. So I just need to make my way here. And now I can push the ruler to the side. Now it's aligned, you see? So now I can make this half shape. And then move down again. So as you can see, this is not aligned anymore, but I will just move down till I get here. Push the ruler aside until it is aligned and make my half shape. It might seem a little silly to make these half small shapes at the side, but for the overall look of the block and the pattern, it does make a difference to also stitch those details on the side of your squares. Okay, so now I got here. You can either travel towards the new spot that you're going to quilt, or you can just fasten off. I've made a few stitches on the same spot. So I will go and bring up my bobbin thread, clip it off, and then start again on the next spot. There we go. And there we have our first block quilted. Is it perfect? No, of course not. But am I happy with it? Yes, very much. I got to practice using this ruler again, and some of the lines look really good. Others do have some improvement. Sometimes the traveling didn't go perfect, like here. But on some spots the traveling went really accurate. So it's all part of the process of practicing. And do remember as well that when you put this quilt on the couch or when you start using it, you won't see those stitches in such detail as you are seeing them now. So please allow yourself to make some mistakes and to just use this quilt to practice. Have fun making this first one, and I'll see you in the next video.